From the brand that brought you Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon comes 3 all-new adventures. Vietnam, zombies, space. It's the Far Cry 5 Season Pass and post-launch content. In the first DLC, Hours of Darkness, you'll be dropped right in the middle of war-torn Vietnam. As Wendell Redler, you'll face Viet Cong, rescue friends, and if you've got the grit, get the hell out of there. For an encounter of the radical kind, look no further than the second DLC, Lost on Mars. Your mission is simple. Save Earth by stopping a full-on alien invasion and haul ass back home. In the third DLC, Dead Living Zombies, the deceased cease to be decreased as you and a friend melt wave after wave of zombie hordes in 7 scenarios imagined by B-movie director Guy Marvel. And for you Vaz fans out there, we're throwing in the full game of Far Cry 3 Classic Edition. How's that for the definition of insanity? And for all Far Cry 5 players, we've got a bunch of post-launch content as well. First up is Far Cry Arcade, where there's an endless amount of maps to play in solo, co-op, or PvP, created by Far Cry Studio, as well as players like you. What's more, this mode is constantly updated with new content and challenges. And introducing reoccurring live events. We're going to give you goals to unlock exclusive outfits, weapons, and kick-ass vault vehicles. Participate in the events, get the loot. So run those sweet little legs and get your season pass for the best deal we've ever offered in Far Cry. And stay tuned for all new content post-launch of Far Cry 5.
Hey, hello, and welcome to our 5th Far Cry 5 live stream, live from Montreal Studios. I'm Laureline, community developer, and today I have 2 amazing guests. Narrative director, Drew.
I don't know if about amazing is correct, but hey, how's it going?
And you might remember from previous live stream, Nolan, who will be holding the controllers and working his magic for us today.
I'll go with amazing, though. I'm okay with that part.
Okay.
So thank you for that.
Normal Drew and amazing Nolan.
Good. That's good. Yeah.
So either you're watching us on Twitch or on YouTube, make sure to hit the chat with your questions. We have moderators that are here to answer you or to forward the question to us here. And actually, if you are watching us regularly, you might recognize some familiar names because our whole community team that is hosting the weekly Friday Arcade Nights live streams, James, Gihan, Amanda, and Felipe are here behind the keyboard this time as moderators. And finally, we have our very own UB Gabe in the room with us, even though you can't, see him. That will be helping us with the questions. So, why are we here today? Well, we will be playing the first 30 minutes of gameplay of our new Far Cry 5 DLC, Lost on Mars. We'll be playing on PS4 Pro. Lost on Mars is the second DLC of Far Cry 5 Season Pass. If you missed the previous one, it was Hours of Darkness that came out on the 5th of June. And Lost on Mars will be available tomorrow on all platforms, midnight for consoles and midday Montreal time, so 9 a.m. Pacific time, and for the rest of the time zone, you can make it your own for PC. Yeah, so basically, well, what else? No, yeah, Lost on Mars is available as part of the Season Pass, or you can also buy it separately if you already own Far Cry 5, and the same goes for every other DLC of Far Cry 5. And finally, later on this summer, we'll have Dead Living Zombie. That will be the 3rd and final DLC. In a few seconds, yeah, you can press the button. We'll start. We'll start the opening scene of the DLC, And after that, stay tuned because I will be joined by Nicolas from the arcade team, and we will be discovering a bit more about the map editor and how to create some very cool Martian vibes maps. And finally, we will end with a raffle. So stay tuned. And go. Nope, still loading.
So
It's okay. It's
well-oiled
okay.
machine, guys. It's fine.
I know.
Yeah.
It's good.
So well, let's maybe
Nolan
start
could dance
explaining.
for a bit, like sort of
Oh.
do some interpretive dance
I can.
of the opening of
I think
of Mars. Oh, are we
do
on?
it now.
All
Sorry,
right.
you missed out.
This is Nick Rye here.
Hola, amigo. It's Hurk. What you up to?
Yeah, I'm running some errands for the wife and kiddo.
Cool. No doubt. So listen, man. Remember that time, a couple years back, we got hammered on party liquor, spread eagle, and I made you a promise that if I was ever seduced by a super hot, super intelligent being of dubious moral standing who whisked me away to an exotic land, well, that you'd come and help a brother out.
Vaguely.
Well, bro, sis, you better buckle up because that time has arrived.
Oh, shit! Hurk, I really don't have time for this.
But dude, you made a promise. Do you even know what a promise is? That's like a sacred pact, man. That no
Hey,
man or
shit! Come on, get you stupid gal. Hurk, look, can whatever you need wait until tomorrow?
I'm gonna go with the big N-O on that, compadre, because this is one of them life or death things that I sometimes get myself into through no fault of my own.
All right, fine. I'll help. Where do you need me to go?
Well, it's a little far. Don't worry, I can get you here in a jiffy.
What the fuck does that mean? Hurk? What the?
Look, just hold on and try not to vomit. Oh, and if you got a six-pack on you, go grab it now.
Hurk? What the hell is going on? Oh, no. Whatever you're doing, stop! Fuck this! What the? Oh, you gotta be kidding me! No!
Chamber stability critical. System stability critical. Power levels critical. System reboot required.
Oh my God! I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I had my doubts that this is gonna work, but I hope that suit don't chafe too much.
What the hell's going on? Hurk? Hurk, where are you?
Relax, man. Everything's fine. Well, not exactly fine. The situation is rather dire. But just head through the doors, man. I'll explain everything in a minute.
Hey, welcome back. So if you just joined us, we just watched the opening cinematic of the new Far Cry 5 DLC Lost on Mars, coming tomorrow. So if it's not available for you yet, even though you have the season pass, it's completely normal. Well, we just saw Nick being abducted by what looks like aliens, right? And we end up here in this, what looks like a spaceship. Actually, we have already a couple of questions from the chat. First of all, yes, God of Casual on Twitch. Allez les Bleus, vive la France. We're very happy. Another question, is it recommended to play the main story first? Well, actually, no, right? Because
No, it's you know, people have been asking a lot, like, sort of, where does this take place in the timeline? The answer is it's sort of an alternate timeline. It's an alternate universe. where the events that happened in Far Cry 5 didn't happen. So everything with the rookie and the cult and all that is much more calmer version of Hope County. But we wanted to be able to tell a story with some of the characters that we had created. First of all, Nick and Hurk. A lot of people really enjoyed them a lot. So we decided, okay, let's tell one of those sort of like what if like comic book stories where we say, what if Hurk happened to get trapped on Mars and had to bring in his buddy Nick to help him out. We really wanted to go to Mars, explore a sort of different environment than I think people have expected in sort of Far Cries. And make it the Far Cry version of Mars. So we'll see later on some of the enemies that you'll be encountering. But it was really, for us, it was about trying to capture the magic of, like, you know, the 80s and 70s sci-fi, that sort of like comic booky, pulpy sort of experience.
I think this is where we're gonna switch console to jump a little bit ahead in gameplay, so that well, you just see her floating head. What's happening? Drew will sum that up for us. But basically, we're gonna jump like 5 minutes ahead, so that we keep the old banter between Nick and Hurk fresh. While we're switching console, the chat, the moderator has been telling me that there are some problems on PS4. I don't know what exactly, because I'm just here on the couch. But we are looking into it, don't worry, and we'll come back with questions soon. And we're back again on our second save. So we just passed, we just came out of the spaceship, and we're starting with a view on the whole map. Yay! And we're on Mars.
On Mars. Yeah, so like Laureline was saying, we should have jumped about maybe 5 minutes of expedition to keep it fresh for everyone that's watching, so nothing gets spoiled. There's a lot of Hurk, there's a lot of Nick, there's a lot of back and forth banter. That's pretty funny, so we didn't want to spoil any of those jokes for you. But the gist of it is that Hurk tells you that he had been brought to Mars by this super intelligent AI named Anne. Who you may have, if you've met Larry Parker in Far Cry 5, you may have heard of Anne before. Larry had gone up, things didn't go well. Hurk now came up, and as we saw, things really didn't go well for Hurk. He lost all of his body, so he's just a floating head. And because Anne is essentially calling everyone to sort of stop this invasion of Earth from this deadly force known as the Arachnids, Hurk said, okay, you know what, I have a buddy of mine, Nick Rye. I'm going to try and get him to come up here, and then we're really going to be able to work together to stop this invasion and save Earth.
Oh, yeah. So I think Nolan will do our first Mars selfie.
I'm just going to, you know.
In July 5th, we introduced the photo mode with title update 8. So I think it's a great occasion to showcase this. Oh, yeah.
I haven't seen any of this in action. Like, I haven't seen any of the photo mode stuff.
It's a lot of fun, yeah.
That's really cool. You can change, as Nolan is doing, like the focus distance. You can add filters. I think you can change the time of the day.
Nice.
If you were not wearing a
that's
space
very
helmet.
Mars. That's a very
That is
Mars.
very Mars,
There
yeah.
you go.
Yeah. If you were not wearing these helmets, you could actually change your character face expressions. Of course, right now you can't. I mean, it will not change much.
There we go.
You can add logos. So now we have a little souvenir.
All right.
So what is our first objective here?
Yes. So in Hurk's little expedition at the start, as you climb to the top of this tower to turn on this this power station, essentially what Anne tells you is that she was trying to stop this invasion with the help of Larry. But the Arachnids got in the way and have turned off and sort of damaged all of her structures on Mars. And unless everything's turned back on, she's not going to be able to help prevent the Arachnid invasion. So really the goal of the mission is for Nick and Hurk to travel all over Mars, turning these facilities back on, and also dealing with the Arachnid invasion itself along the way. On top of that, as we had seen before, Hurk is sort of missing his entire body. So he's also asking Nick, you know what, yeah, stopping this alien invasion is fine, but I kind of want the rest of myself back.
Fair enough.
Including, you know, Hurk's most important bits. So there's a lot of sort of different avenues of gameplay here. There's turning on these stations, there's exploring, there's finding Hurk's body parts, and you have his right hand here. There's lots of things for you to do and for you to discover, lots of little collectibles for you to find as you explore Mars.
Can you actually, Nolan, show us, you know, the picture of his body? With,
Oh, yeah.
You know, when we
Yeah.
had, yeah, exactly,
Right here.
When you had the body parts.
Sure. Go ahead. Oh, sorry. My bad.
We lost in the menu. Okay. Good. So yeah, we found the
Handsome face and kissable lips.
Yeah. And the shooting hand.
It's very
We
important.
have a couple more to find. Of course, we won't go through all of them. We won't find them all in the live stream.
No.
But we'll find, I think, the most important.
Here and now, another promise is made. We will find my body.
Yeah, so right now, what Nick's mission is to collect these energy cores to help turn on the power stations around Mars. But Anne is also saying that, you know, it's really, really dangerous outside, and if you want to be able to survive, she's suggesting that you take Hurk's head and take him to the transference center. What that means is essentially we'd be turning Hurk into what we'll see later is the Brobot, and so you'll have a cool little robot GFH companion who is Hurk, minus the body, helping you out in fights. Real quick right here, this little pop-up tutorial about sand. The arachnids on Mars come in a couple different varieties. The first one that you're going to encounter is essentially sort of burrowing under the sand. So there's lots of sandy bits and there's lots of rocky bits on Mars. And the idea is that as long as you're sort of walking on these rocks, you're going to be safe. But the minute you hit sand, these you know, sort of little scout arachnids will pop up and sort of attack you in a melee sense. There's other ones later on that sort of have more ranged weapons. Some fly. There's some super armored ones. There's a lot of different variety in terms of changing up your playstyle as you're exploring Mars.
And talking about like new elements coming with the DLC, there is a question on YouTube from Spongy Plays. How long do we need to finish the DLC? So I think the team, while playing and doing the playtest, took around 6 hours to finish it up. But again, it depends on everybody's play styles, and there's so many side missions to do. So you can take it your own space.
Right.
Pace, not space.
So we
there
found
we go.
another Hurk
Another
bit.
Hurk body part. Love those underwear.
Man.
Yep.
I need a pair for my own. So finding Hurk's pelvis gives us one of the new abilities that we're going to have in Lost on Mars, which is the gravity belt. So Mars, a little bit lower gravity than Earth. We wanted to really sort of lean into that and give players a lot of different ways to sort of traverse the environment. So the idea with the gravity belt is it does what it says. It's going to allow you to sort of have much less gravity as you jump. You'll be able to do things like traverse really high spaces as no one's going to go, sort of boosting us up. And it also has a hover function. So a lot of the arachnids have weak spots, sort of sometimes on the top of their bodies. So using the gravity belt to sort of get up high and hover will allow you to really sort of rain fire down and above them. And it also lets you sort of, you know, avoid some encounters if you know, there's lots of sand around, you'll be able to get up on sort of higher terrain.
And going back to the chat, first off, hi Isoli from YouTube. What's up? And yes, there are new assets already in the editor about Mars. The terrain texture mostly, and some effects, light effects, etc. that we will see later on in this stream. But so far there is no arachnid or AI added. And we could see what you were just talking about on the top of the arachnid. So
yeah, little red spots for you to aim. As you can see, there's brand new weapons that we're bringing into Lost on Mars, much more space, laser-based, things like that. One of the cool things, I think, with the weapons this time is that there's no sort of ammo that you have to keep track of. Everything is recharge-based. But what happens is, so every weapon has a different sort of recharge time. So as you're unlocking new weapons and as the enemy types are sort of getting a little bit more varied and stronger, the strategy really changes in terms of needing to figure out what weapon you want to start a fight with, and once that sort of runs out, while you're waiting for it to cool down, flip into another weapon, maybe a pistol or the shotgun up close. There are a couple weapons that we're showing off right now that you wouldn't have early on, but we wanted to showcase some of the cooler stuff.
Yeah, we got the
menu.
Yeah, and the Iron Fisted Laser Ballista. So Originally, these weapons all had very sort of scientific sci-fi names that Ant had created, and Hurk rolled in and said, no, I don't like the names of those. I want to call it, the Laser Blazer. I want to call it the Annihalaser, the Great Popper. So everything, every item that you've seen in the game has been renamed by Hurk himself.
Yeah. And not only the weapons, like even like some.
Yeah, the items.
Elements
Yes, space bandages.
Yeah.
Space bandages.
bandages.
Ultimate favorite.
Yeah.
There we go. Speaking of which, there we go.
Another question regarding the editor from Steve Butter or Steve64. Hey. Yeah, no, the gravity belt is not added in the editor. However, you can change the gravity level. So you still have like this gravity field, but we'll see more of that later on. Another question about the how do we set up actually the DLC and where to find them, to find it. Actually, maybe Nolan, you can explain real quick.
Where to find the DLC? Yeah. Oh yeah. So when you install Lost on Mars as well as Hours of Darkness or any of the DLC packs, there's a new addition to the main menu called Add-on Packs, and if you go in there, you can see all the DLCs and just click on the one you want to play.
Easy peasy.
Pretty easy.
Someone's asking on the Twitch, were there any Easter eggs in the DLC to keep an eye out for? Yes. There's a couple different areas that you'll find in the game that sort of detail what happened to Larry in his journey, as well as Hope County's most famous stuntman, Clutch Nixon, may or may not have made his way to Mars after disappearing from Montana. So.
Another example of a perk renaming thing.
The big ass space crab.
The big ass space crab.
So this was the arachnid that actually ripped Hurk to pieces and scattered him all across Mars. So he wants you to really take him out. Once we deal with this, we'll be able to put Hurk in the transference center, and things are really good fun.
So I got him with the electro grenade.
Yeah, there's a couple different items, like Laureline was saying earlier. There's electro grenade that you'll be able to use. There's a standard sort of like frag grenade that you'll be able to find. And there's a couple different more sort of sci-fi grenades. There's the Morphinator, which will be able to turn any arachnid you see into a cow, because cows are not dangerous and arachnids are. And there's also the chickenade, which will spawn a tiny explosive chicken that the arachnids will chase, and then when they try to eat it, they'll explode.
It's very good.
And now
There's our boy.
Yeah.
He's got the bandana. He's got the star-spangled everything.
So we now have our robot, which will be our gun for hire through through the DLC. And talking about game for hire, one thing to remember is, oh, I'm losing my papers, is that the whole DLC is playable in co-op.
Yes.
From the very beginning. So yeah.
Yeah, so the robot basics, it really functions just like your Fangs for Hire or your GFH in the main game. He'll be able to follow you around and take orders in terms of attacking or going to places. He's got some unique abilities. He's got like a sort of EMP. If no one wants to pull up the menu. So there's an EMP discharge that'll sort of like stun enemies, but he also has the power of music.
And that's the most important.
Because
really is,
Hurk used to be a roadie for lots of different bands as he was growing up. And so as the game plays out, he'll start playing different of his favorite songs from his time out on the road, just to sort of give a nice little flavor to your boss fights and things like that.
So we'll have him help us
Take
out
some
over here.
maybe question from the chat. Let's see. Can you use the weapons on the regular story mode? Actually, you can bring back 5 weapons from from the DLC to the main campaign. I have the names here. We can say it together.
Sure.
The
Obliterator with
a lot
like
of
6
R's.
R's or something.
Taser, phaser,
Annihalaser.
Annihalaser.
Come on, everyone should know that. The Nerve
The
Reaper.
Nerve Reaper, hopefully I wrote them down. The Great Popper and the Hellfire.
Hellfire.
Yeah. So yeah, five weapons that you will be able to bring back to the main campaign to use your super Mars sci-fi weapons on cultists.
Someone was asking, did we include more lore in the DLC, collectibles, or letters, recordings? There are notes that you'll be able to find on Mars. There's much more sort of interaction with the characters this time around. Nick and Hurk are constantly having a dialogue throughout the entire game. Hurk has lots and lots of stories, as he always does, to entertain you with. As well as Anne, who is sort of the AI that's guiding you along the path to helping you to save the planet. It was a lot of fun. Steve Byers, who plays Nick, and Dylan Taylor, who play Hurk, they're amazing to work with, and they take stuff that's, if it's okay, the lines, they'll make them great, and if the stuff is good, they make them all-time classics. And it's really fun, sort of, because Dylan at this point has played Hurk since Far Cry 3,
yeah.
and he really just is the character now.
Definitely.
We give him the script, and then we get in the booth, and it's just like this is a guideline, right? You just be Hurk, and he sort of channels it, and the things that come out of his mouth make me laugh and then worry about our ESRB rating. But he has a lot of fun with it, and so do we. So it's great having him.
If you're just tuning in, we're playing the first 30 minutes of Lost on Mars DLC. And right now we just found a column of arachnid eggs, right, on Mars.
Yes.
What are they for?
Another feature, another sort of tactical use in the game. They're called crab mones, which is essentially like arachnid pheromones. So as you destroy those things, you'll be able to collect little crab mones that you can use to throw on arachnids you see there. And what it's going to do is it's essentially going to make them aggro against each other. So if you've got a lot of enemies in space, you can use some crab mones to sort of give yourself a bit of a distraction while you get to a better tactical advantage.
Talking about distraction, do we still have our 3 chicken grenades?
We do.
Cool.
I've been
so
saving them for a rainy day.
A good time.
For the big.
Just look at this thing.
Big fight.
It's.
Oh yeah.
You got it.
Take another feature.
Oh well, I think we'll save that one.
Yeah. So
no, we save for the final combat.
Yeah, save it for the end. We so what we're doing right now, again, a lot of the objectives on Mars are to turn on Anne's facilities so that she can help stop this arachnid invasion. What that's going to do is sort of all of these little big facilities that you turn on. It's going to give you more locations for Hurk body parts, number 1, which is important because Hurk wants his body back. As well as show you more locations of energy cores, and the energy cores are what you need to turn on more facilities. So it's a sort of lock and key sort of deal where as you use the energy cores to turn on the facilities, which in turn show you where more are, and it's there's no sort of set direction in terms of which ones you have to turn on first. You're really sort of able to sort of free roam, explore. There's lots of little sort of hidden secrets. And some fun surprises as you.
Actually, Bert and Ernie from Twitch and Hype Squatter are kind of a similar question. Is do you have a story to finish, or can you free roam around Mars?
There is an end to the DLC. It's again, we're sort of saying in terms of full completion. I think 6-7 hours, something like that for 100%. For you out there that really do sort of want to do the free roam and 100% everything, be careful about sort of going to complete the final mission unless you've sort of done everything, because the final mission that you do really wraps up the entire story. And if you do so, you won't be able to sort of go around and explore afterwards. So if you're a completionist, I'd really advise you to really sort of explore every nook and cranny before you sort of go into the final confrontation.
So we just unlocked or reactivated a new tower, and now our next mission, I think, is to find the Queen Arachnid. Is that it?
Yes. So we're getting a sort of signal that there's a big energy source, like a lot of energy cores. So we're heading off to look, explore this area. But as we're going to find out, there's a much more bigger, sort of dangerous enemy. Kind of, sort of sets up mini boss fights that you'll be able to engage with on the Mars DLC. And this one just happens to have some more Hurk body parts, so he's Again, he really wants to find his missing penis.
Pelvis, we said.
His member. His
missing member.
This Pat Chicks from Twitch is asking if there will be any humanoid enemies in the DLC.
No, the enemy types really are localized to the arachnids. There are a couple
different
surprises that I don't want to spoil, but the arachnids really are the core of the focus.
Yeah, and you can turn them into cows. So
yes, exactly.
How
so
awesome
there's
is
cows.
that? And there's cats.
So now
But they are not belligerent.
Yes.
So now might be a good time to distract him with the chickenade.
Oh yeah, let's check the chicken eggs. So yeah, you basically throw.
Wow. All right.
Why not?
I'm okay with this.
That really was the core of the design on Lost on Mars. Was why not?
Well, actually, we're
it's
done.
fun. Let's do it.
Yeah, so we just throw an egg, comes out a chicken, distract the arachnids, and then eventually explodes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's perfect.
It's simple and it makes sense. So
And
don't question
does
it.
make sense, absolutely. So right now we just found the nest of the big queen,
Oh, yeah, she is.
and we're dragging her out.
She's
A queenie. She's beautiful. Look at her smile.
Oh man.
Yeah, so like I was saying earlier, there's sort of mini boss fights. There's a bit of a mechanic to these. You know, you have to lure the queen out by sort of damaging the nest, and then when she's out, you try and get as much damage in her as possible. She may run away, which causes you to sort of re-engage with some of the other enemies around. But she's always going to be sort of surrounded by lots of different arachnids. So the question is, do you deal with the queen? Do you deal with the arachnids around there? There's a bit of strategy. It's useful in these instances having a co-op partner to sort of help you.
Absolutely, because as you will see, they like arachnids spawning everywhere. But there is like this very useful weapon, right? So that you can make them fight between each other.
The crab mounds, yeah.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite strategies is to tag the queen with the crab mound,
Oh, there you
and
go.
it has the other arachnids
See.
Attacking her.
attack her.
That's good. That's a good one. Another question from Twitch from Dr. Zen. What will be the price of this Lost on Mars DLC? It will be $9.99. US dollars, yes.
Oh, no, don't die.
Don't die.
Use those space bandages, man.
Gotta use the space bandages.
Wrap space bandages.
Is
No,
Hurk
it's-
down? Is the Brobot down?
Oh yeah,
Hurk,
Where's he at?
Where you at, Hurk?
Oh, Brobot.
Robot.
Don't you get him killed.
Don't let him down. But you can revive your robot.
Yes.
So
he's not. He's good.
He's
Oh,
good.
there
He's
All right,
good.
good.
He's doing some damage. However, he can't revive.
Jeez.
I don't. Yes, that is correct.
I mean, he's a robot after all, so what can he?
Yeah, he's
Can't
limited
really,
in
like,
his functionality.
give you a hand and like lift you up like a
Oh, jeez.
Oh, use a space bandage.
So one of the other fun tools are the invisibility cloaks.
Oh,
Nice.
like in Harry Potter?
You've had an invisibility cloak this whole time.
I
and you
have.
didn't use it?
I was saving it for a special
God.
occasion. Like fighting the
Oh yeah, you can see your hand are kind of invisible. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I wonder what he looks like in person. Probably the I think there is also Hurk body part inside the queen.
Yes, and we're trying to get it back. I'm not sure which one. I don't remember which one it is, but it's an important one
Yeah.
because all Hurk's body parts are equally important to him.
Which I understand somehow.
Yeah.
That makes
like,
sense.
Yeah.
If I was a floating head, I'd probably, want to seek revenge.
There's Denise the Queen.
You could say this grenade is a high explosive.
John
The
is
future for you.
John is there. Is that you,
Ubisoft
buddy?
Writers Workshop.
Just apply on Ubisoft jobs for writers. Explosive.
Oh, good lord.
Nimrod asks, are the co-op partners also Nick or separate individuals? You'll both be playing Nick Rye. It's in the same vein as the co-op from Far Cry 5. You're each playing the same character. It doesn't change the narrative at all.
Oh god.
It just helps
we're
you have more
bad.
fun.
I can't.
We're too many arachnids everywhere.
I know, these fights are hard.
Yeah, I know, it's very hard. We're not doing it.
I want to give a special shout out to the team at Ubisoft Shanghai for developing this DLC. They worked really hard on this and the Vietnam DLC, and it's really cool to be able to sort of hand off little bits and pieces of the franchise to different studios all around the world and really let them have their sort of take on Far Cry and the Far Cry experience. And the world is amazing. The gameplay, it plays really fun, and it feels very different from Far Cry 5, which I think is pretty cool.
We got it.
Queen eliminated. We did it.
Oh, we found his right arm.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, that was the other arm. Okay, makes
Yeah,
sense.
so the queens, there's as you can see on the screen, there's 15 in the world for you to find. They've all killing them isn't sort of core to the loop of the game itself. But what it's going to give you is sort of a lot of resources. It's going to give you a chunk of energy core you'll be able to use to turn on facilities. It's also going to give you a queen heart, which you saw earlier. We're sort of using the crab moans to sort of target one individual arachnid to sort of fight another one. The heart sort of is the same thing, but as an area of effect. So if you're really in the middle of a situation where it's not looking good, you can use one of those queen hearts and then just cause chaos amongst all the arachnids. Which really helps you deal with sort of larger crowds.
And these Patricks from Twitch also asking if there would be any type of mode like we had in Hours of Darkness, or is it completely different? In Hours of Darkness you had like
yeah, no,
mode.
I don't believe so. No one, do you know? Yeah, no, sorry.
No, it's not the same.
Let's see here.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's nice. I don't know.
It's a little oversaturated.
It's a little too much.
A little blown out.
Jungle.
It's like a nuclear bomb went off in this.
I know.
That is not the story of Far.
the
Ooh,
Mars
it's like the black and white's a little like Twilight Zone-y. It's interesting.
I like it.
Yeah, nice view on the robots.
If we're gonna do black and white, we gotta do the black and white logo there.
There you go.
There we go.
And to answer Salkin from YouTube, no, when you play in co-op, it's the same mechanics as in the main campaign. The player's progression for your guest is kept, but not your world progression.
Cool.
And good news, the PS4 issue has been resolved, whatever the issue was, and we have not
We did it.
off.
We did it.
The important thing is it's
Our
fixed.
patch.
It's fixed.
Thanks to us.
So yes.
Couch of power.
I think we're good to go for this first part of the live stream. We killed our first queen.
Found some Hurk body
maybe
parts.
can you show us back the map to finish?
Sure.
So that we have an overview of what other challenges are ahead.
Yeah, we really only covered a small corner of the map.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot left to do.
There's like many missions, many things to discover, and a lot of benders.
Yeah, essentially every single location in the world has a story for Hurk to talk about. We really sort of went into a lot of what we had learned with working on the GFHs in Far Cry 5 and sort of the interaction and making them sort of feel much more present in the world. And it was great because, with just having Hurk as a little sort of GFH, we were able to really hone down and focus, what, his interactions were going to be and the stories that he was going to have, the back and forth between him and Nick. So, yeah, it's fun. I
More
think.
developed than
If you like Hurk, boy, are you
tennis.
going to love this
Yeah,
DLC.
tennis. So Hurk plays tennis.
Of course. I mean,
Now you know.
I'd imagine.
yeah.
I'd imagine he's pretty good.
Who
at
doesn't play
tennis.
tennis?
Yeah.
Me.
Definitely.
Maybe a few last questions from the chat to finish this first part of the live stream. So from Delirious Sumo, there will not be vehicles on Mars. You are just roaming around as Nick, and you have your brobot.
Your brobot, your gravity belt,
And your gravity belt,
and possibly
There's teleporters.
some space wings.
And possibly
Unconfirmed.
some space wings. Wink.
That's true.
And yeah, well, thank you very much for your time. Now we will be, I think, showing a new teaser. I mean, a teaser for the DLC, and we'll be back just after with new guests to show the map editor, to show some of the assets that have been added last title update on the editor, and yeah, trying to create some very cool Mars maps.
Cool.
Awesome.
Trailer.
Hello?
Hola, amigo. You remember that time I made you promise that if I was ever seduced by a super hot, super intelligent being of dubious moral standing who whisked me away into an exotic land, well, that you'd come and help a brother out?
Vaguely.
Well, bro, Sif, you better buckle up because that time has arrived.
From the brand that brought you Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon comes 3 all-new adventures. Vietnam, zombies, space. It's the Far Cry 5 Season Pass and post-launch content. In the first DLC, Hours of Darkness, you'll be dropped right in the middle of war-torn Vietnam. As Wendell Redler, you'll face Viet Cong, rescue friends, and if you've got the grit, get the hell out of there. For an encounter of the radical kind, look no further than the second DLC, Lost on Mars. Your mission is simple. Save Earth by stopping a full-on alien invasion and haul ass back home. In the third DLC, Dead Living Zombies, the deceased cease to be decreased as you and a friend melt wave after wave of zombie hordes in 7 scenarios imagined by B-movie director Guy Marvel. And for you Vaz fans out there, we're throwing in the full game of Far Cry 3 Classic Edition. How's that for the definition of insanity? And for all Far Cry 5 players, we've got a bunch of post-launch content as well. First up is Far Cry Arcade, where there's an endless amount of maps to play in solo, co-op, or PvP, created by Far Cry Studio, as well as players like you. What's more, this mode is constantly updated with new content and challenges. And introducing reoccurring live events. We're going to give you goals to unlock exclusive outfits, weapons, and kick-ass vault vehicles. Participate in the events, get the loot. So run those sweet little legs and get your season pass for the best deal we've ever offered in Far Cry. And stay tuned for all new content post-launch of Far Cry 5.
Welcome back. I have a new guest that just appeared. Now I'm with Nicolas, who is a technical artist on the Far Cry Arcade, and he worked a lot on the map editor. So that's what he will show us today. If you just tuned in, well, we played around 40 minutes of gameplay of the new Far Cry 5 DLC, Lost on Mars, that will be available tomorrow. And now we will be discovering a little bit more about the assets that have been added in the map editor from Mars during the last title update, which was in June 5th, if I recall. No, July 5th, sorry. We prepared a little bit ahead of the live stream to have a sort of setup. And the idea is that we have these 2 towers, right? And we will be building a little pass platform to go from one from tower to another. And Nicolas will show us how. I think we wanted to start with maybe adding some terrain.
Yeah, first off, one of the additions to this title update for the Lost on Mars, Lost in Space, Lost on Mars.
Lost on Mars.
Lost on Mars DLC.
Wrong name.
We have added a lot of structures that you find within the DLC. So if you have watched the previous section of the stream, you will see that all these structures, all these labs, all these walls, we have them inside DIG. And what's really great is we have put many versions of the same model, one with the red light activated, and one with the blue light, and one with no lights at all. So it will be up to the user to create like specific setups based from specific teams. They could have like the red team on one side, blue team on one side. That's what we were aiming for. And now I will just show you a little bit of some new structures, some new towers that we have put in place. We wanted to create like a little vibe of Mars with our maps. Absolutely. So what we have created, it was super quick. We put a backdrop of sand, and we have placed these two towers. That we recognize from the DLC as the and activation towers. And we have also placed a little small piece of rocks just to create like that one little path. Rock by rock. Exactly. Like as you can see, there's a lot of rocks that were made into these. And what's really great about the rocks from this DLC is they're very modular. So if you were looking for like some specific rocks, like there's no like one big rocks and that's it, that's the mountain. With the DLC on Mars, you can actually create your own ones, and you will see when you get up to close to them, like the way they're being modeled, it's very easy for the user to just stack them up and create a mountain. Exactly, and there you go, you have it. This is your map, this is your mountain, and if we jump in really quick, nice. This is exactly what I wanted to do. You will see that this is... Yeah, it looks like a whole block. Exactly. It does not even look like multiple pieces. So there we go. We'll just go back into the map editor. So into the new additions, we have the terrain textures that we have. Let's just start and try to replacing this whole map. If you look up for Martian into the terrain texture, you'll see like all of those has been added. You have those like blue, dark cyan rocks. You also have like the sand generic, have multiple sand type. I'm just going to use this one really quickly. And let's say that I want to add more details around my structures, around my rocks. So I will use like a second type of texture, which will be a little bit granite. If you see here, see those, those little small texture addition that you place around everything that you place really adds more detail to your map, and so it has more blending. Okay. So if you pass from one rock to directly sand, it can work out, but if you use like terrain texture with little small rocks, it will add a little bit more detail and a little bit of realism to your map. So make feel. And that's something we said in the previous live stream, but remember that you can add 4 different textures altogether in your map, so choose them wisely. So basically you have like one big texture for the whole thing, and then you had like little patches like Nicolas is doing right now. There you go. I won't add too much, but this is great steps to add more details. Some question already from the you can keep doing it, I will read them for you. No. And you can just say yay or nay. From Twitch, actually, from DC, AC, and Snowfox, basically they're wondering if there will be any Arachnid AI to the editor. Okay. Well, the Arachnid AIs are still being investigated. We're looking into it. We're hoping to have that in, but more news to come on that subject. Yeah. And in any case, when we are adding the asset to the editor for every title updates. So the next edition would be during the next title updates. Yeah. So wait and see. Keep an eye on the forums for the patch notes, and you will know everything. Yeah. The same answer is for all the equipment. You know, the gravity tool, all the weapons. We're still on it right now, but looking forward to it. Let's jump into some structures that we have. Yes. We have, I've painted a little bit of the terrain. I have my 2 structures here. Maybe what I want to do is, for this setup, is let's do kind of parkour map. Yes. We can put some platforms, floating ones. We're on Mars, so we already know that the gravity is lower. Yes. And we will be jumping into the air. So let's try to get some platforms up and running.
Yeah, because afterwards we would be playing around with the gravity settings.
Yes.
Pretty fun.
So right here, I have multiple sections into structures, industrial. I'm gonna jump right into platforms, and I can select already like quick ones. See, there's a lot of them. You see that like the base of some are here. I can use that. I can use some rails that I can.
Roy on Twitch is asking if we can tweak the gravitational acceleration. What we will show you afterwards, once we would have placed our platforms. And basically, we can change the gravity settings and the jump settings, so you can jump more or less high. So all together, by mixing these two settings, you would be able to create some very cool gravitational effects to your map.
Yeah. We can change the gravity through the modifier of the map. So I will show you these options in very shortly. So I've quickly placed some of the platforms that we can use up for the players to jump on it. I will, let's say I'm going to put this one here and do a quick setup, floating in the air maybe. That'd be great.
Maybe jumping from one platform to another.
Yeah. So this.
I had a paper before. I lost it. Never mind.
Lost on paper.
Yeah, it's fine. Because I think it was a Hype Squatter that was asking if there will be any astronaut AI added to the editor. As far as I know, no, because in the DLC and the assets that we bring to the editor are coming from the DLC. We're not creating new assets for the editor. There is no AI that are astronauts.
Absolutely, except for you.
Except for your own character, obviously.
Okay, so I've created like a really quick setup of floating platforms. I can probably play with the height a little bit.
Because we can choose a gravity, so we can play with that a little.
So to test out our platforms and also the gravity settings, I'm gonna use up the modifier tools here. That I can play with the modifier gravity. I can also play around with the jump height. So the gravity will be literally how light it will be for the player to go through the atmosphere. So if I jump and I have a normal jump, then the gravity will be higher, so it will take me more time to go down. If I play around with the jump height, then I'm gonna jump really quicker. But if I also have the gravity applied, then I will fall down slower.
Yeah, makes sense.
So I will play around with the gravity. If it's at 100, the gravity will stay as it is right now. If I put it lower, then...
So we need to lower the gravity to have like this
nice vibe,
feel.
I will try to increase a little bit my jump height, so I have this feeling of I'm lighter and I can jump higher, especially since right now we do not have the gravity bell, so I won't be able to test that out.
Yeah. And so we have to jump from one platform to another, so that would be helpful.
So if do you think I can make it? Oh no.
Jumpsuit.
Jumpsuit in Mars. Then there we go. I landed.
Okay.
I think that.
Okay, that's right. I think that was a bit short.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Nope. Not gonna make it.
So you see here on my map, let's say I don't want a player to walk on the terrain. We have this new addition. This is the kill volume.
Yep.
We also have the damage volume. Let's jump in and see what the kill volume is. So, like I was saying, we don't want the player to touch the terrain.
Yeah.
So floor is lava. Nice. We want to put something that will kill the player once he's touched the floor. So to do so, we will need to go into the health objects.
In the gameplay elements.
To gameplay, and then you go into health,
yeah.
And then we have the region damage over time and region kill. Yeah. So make sure to have your object preference window open so you can see the settings that you can tweak. And we have these little zones. Hello. So this zone with this icon says that it's gonna kill you. It's gonna kill the player that will enter it. So here,
on YouTube, musical video is asking what will be new on the Far Cry Arcade. Well, what will be new is new maps created with all the new settings that we're presenting right now by amazing map maker that we have.
So, right, I'm still playing around with the parameters of my kill zone. As you see, it's a big box.
Yeah, so basically the whole map is floor is lava, the whole floor. So we can only walk on the platforms.
So we see, well, at the moment, the way the map is set up, I can actually walk here, but I can still add more volumes into that zone if I really don't want a player to jump into. So here, since my zone is a little bit higher, I will bring up all my structures so my player does not die from touching them. I'm sorry. So this, let's put it higher. Since this, I don't want to, I will remove it because I don't need that. Doop.
Maybe,
and
yeah.
No.
Quite a big jump there.
Yeah. Think I can make it?
We'll see.
There you go. We never know, just to be safe. Okay. And let's test this. First, I will need to put a spawn point because a little reminder, when you want to test the map as in Explore, which is Explore map that would jump you into the map, you will not die from this zone.
Yeah,
so
you will not see the effects happening.
So I will put a spawn point, and
we have we have a question from Roy again on Twitch. Can we use explosive chickens on the map editor? I don't think they will be the explosive chickens coming to the map editor.
We love chicken too much.
Yeah, they are like just chicken friendly on the arcade team, so it's not gonna happen.
Then I just need to put one AI. I will put it at the very end, so I have all my validation process working. So here, currently have an issue with my remote, so I won't be able to control my direction, but let's just see if the kill zone works. Yeah. Okay, I made the first jump.
Try to don't be that good.
And then,
too short, no. And we die.
And I'm dead. So this is perfect for the kind of setup we discussed about floor is lava. What to do? Well, you can use this box, and it will be pretty much as you die.
You can use these zones as you want, depending on your settings. On Twitch, Dispatchix has very fun idea of. Do we need a carpet for the mouse?
No, I'm okay.
We're good.
Yeah.
So he said like, lol, but need to put these skills under weapon spawn to troll people.
Yeah.
That's another use for the kills.
Yes, you can do that, or like kill zones. I've seen a lot of maps that were also in skyscrapers, like in top of buildings, or you could remove the floor from it, but with this kind of box, you can actually kill the player before he reaches or falls down. So you can keep your map with no fall damage modifier that can be found here in no fall damage and right here. So when you have this activated, you could have like a lot of gravity or no gravity and fall in the terrain and you will not die. But with this modifier and with this zone, now you can mix them both. Have a Mars setup, but a kill zone instead. But like this is the kill zones. Now let's have a look to the damage volumes. But first, what I wanted to do is how could we create like a damage volume setups, but for related to Mars. There's a lot of ideas that you can use your damage volumes for. But so let's try to
I think
see.
the most common is like being in the water. You know, you could enter water or that is poisonous, and and while you swim, you just lose points.
Exactly.
You lose life.
For this, for our setups, let's say I will use like a particle. You can also use like these particles, like those kind of setup. You could put like a damage volume around it, and make a player.
Don't to the laser because that's, you know, not very healthy.
But let's try to use this particles, and then I will put a damage overtime zone right around it. And then I will click on my box. I will like to put a cylinder shape, and I will reduce the size of it. So, like that. And then you see here we have the damage that I will take every second in terms of frequency. I will jump that a little bit higher, put it around 50 so I can.
That we see the effect better.
And then I will jump back into my map and hope I get the jump.
Yeah, we get the jump.
So notice my health bar at the bottom right. We will see that we will start taking damage as we get into this volume. And it could kill the players. So, like you said, we could have like a lot of setups. You can use particles of smoke, mist, fog, water is a very good example, and put this zone so player will take damage when they walk into it.
It's a good way maybe to represent in your map that it's an area where you don't want your players to go to. Talking about damage, we have a question from YouTube from Captain Fancy Wolf. Can you add self-healing, so like medkits, to your maps? So yeah,
there's already the existing medkits that we have here. You can use those for the meantime until we add the proper ones. But yeah, you also have the one from the military medkit that comes from Vietnam, and more to come on the Mars one.
So if you're very nice, you put a medkit next to you, all your damage zones, and everybody just looks fine.
Yeah, or like a medkit in the damage zone. So you'll need to go through the damage to get them. Yeah.
Okay, that's nasty.
Like some final touch-ups that we can do for our maps. Let's try to create the Mars ambience. So let's try kind of tweak around a little bit with the time. Do we want it night?
Do we want night or daylight?
Or day.
You can vote. You can vote in the chat. We'll be playing around with the settings. Our moderators will tell us what you all prefer.
Night time.
And yes, I think a lot of viewers are asking if there would be a raffle. Yes, we will be doing a raffle by the end of the stream. So stay tuned.
One thing that we added for this title update is the addition of lens flare. So for the map makers that were using the lens flare, or I mean, like a really cool setup for the sun and the moon, we have the addition of the lens flare here. You see on the flare, it's on the sun. And you'll see like the reflection into the lens. So this is like high, this is medium, and also for a sunset. So I'm gonna leave that high. Can also play around with the.
It works also on the moon, actually. The flare.
Yes.
Moon flare.
We can have a look to the moon.
As Steve Butter is asking another question from Twitch.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Steve. Can the kill zone in multiplayer maps target players from a specific team? Or does it call any players regardless?
It will kill all players. Yeah.
That's what I thought. And the moon.
And we have the moon. I'll keep it during sun.
Daytime?
Yeah. Of course, I will not add any clouds, but I can add some pretty nice smoke, play with the color, maybe not bluish. Then what does it look like if we jump in? Quick look.
Looks very pretty, actually.
Looks nice.
There's a particle over there.
Yeah.
Maybe we can add some more particles in the next platform.
You will see.
Because there is like some very, very cool different ones.
Now we have quite a lot of them. If we take a look at the lighting effects, we have into the sci-fi section.
I like the one that looks like a black hole. No, this one too.
This?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Looks like you're gonna walk through and just disappear into thin air.
There's a lot of these kind of particles.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty neat.
We have also added, if you play the DLC, you'll notice there's a lot of hologram. We also have them. You can create your own setups with the like hologram glitches. You can stack them, and you can also put like these guys here.
You can have a...
And then...
Oh, that's nice. Arachnid hologram.
There's quite a lot of them.
So you have like the hologram coming up and this...
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
So for that was for all the ceiling.
Oh, you actually have so
Some
many
moons. They're super great. I really like those. You can create your own tech lab setups with all these spheres.
This is going to be... This is gonna light up.
Yeah. Well, it's
some fireworks. No.
You can create your own. So we want to capture a nice thumbnail here. There we go. Boom. I've created.
On Twitch, DCAC is also asking, can we sculpt the terrain in this? Yes, you definitely can sculpt the terrain in any map. Actually, we just pre-sculpt the terrain before that. We wouldn't have to go through that again. But yeah, sure. Shall we try out?
You want to level the terrain? Sure. Sorry, I was reading the comments.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to turn down a little bit. I'll turn off the fog then, so I can actually see. And for this zone, to remove it, to see the terrain, I will delete it. We can quickly update the terrain to our liking with the brush tools. You see, it's pretty easy to create.
And note that what you see in the background is actually a background preset, so that's not something that you can shape.
If you have played around with the editor before, you could have noticed actually that we have the backdrop desert. If I remove it, you will see that I do not have anything. I can add
an horizon kind of thing.
Like different ones. For our setup, we used the desert because it had a sand-like texture, and with the fog, it does not show at all. But you can use this. We also have a new backdrop for this title date, which is a city. It does not fit like Lost on Mars, but you can use it in one of your map and play around with the height, and you see like buildings really far away. You can use them in your city-like map. We'll add more realistics setups. Then I'll just bring back the sand.
Caffeinated on YouTube, hey Patrick,
hey.
is asking, can you explain the fog face forward, backward, and
yes. The fog parameters is very complex. If you play around with it, you might...
But Nicolas is like a fog expert, just for you to know.
Fog expert, nice. So a lot of these settings are used based on the light going through the fog. If we have a lot of fog, I will increase the density, and I will also use the fog scattering, extension, face forward, face backward. I'll explain it a little bit. Scattering is more like how much light penetrates through the fog. You see, the less I have scattering, you will see the more visible it is, and you see like the more scattering I have, less light I see through. When I have the extension, the fog will become more opaque, more solid, so it will let less light to penetrate, and I will see less the asset. When in terms of a phase forward and phase backward, this is mainly based on the orientation of the light. Phase forward, it will be, I'll see more light coming from the source, and phase backward will be, I will see more light coming from the back. What that means is, when I will increase the phase forward, I should see, I will...
Or in our case, maybe we don't have the right assets.
It really depends on the setup that you have. So sometimes when I use the phase forward, it's more lights in front. I'll try to use a darker setup with my moon. Oops. Okay. and face forward. Okay, I will scatter this. Well, okay. And if I play around with the... So the light is very subtle. Like you can see it here, face backward, I will see more light coming from it. But at some point it gets removed.
Okay.
But
it's subtle, but
yes, it's subtle. When you have a terrain, it's really hard to see. But yeah, in the specific setups, face forward will allow more lights from the source itself, and backward it will be more backwards. Because in the way that you want to build your map, you might want more lights coming from the source, but also all around you. But you might want to shut that off and use the base backward and remove the face backward.
Okay, and the last one was the lerp, face lerp.
The lerp is mainly a balance between both of them. The more to the left of the parameter, it will be more for the face forward, and no, this is a face forward. So around these parameters, it's more for the face forward, and more for the face backward, and it's like a mix of both. If I want to use, I can bring down to fog here. I'm hoping that I have the right setups, but we can see like a little bit around the source here. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, it moves a little.
Yeah.
It's not very.
Yeah.
One question from True Survival on YouTube is, hey, by the way, will we add the Mars skybox to the editor? You know, in the DLC gameplay, we saw that it was like this beautiful sky. Will we add that to the editor?
Yeah, we will look into it, into adding these resources to the editor, so we have a proper space kind of vibe to the maps as well.
Cool. Do you want to just do a last run through a map so that we can really feel the gravity?
We can actually. I'm actually stuck preventing from controlling my mouse, so I will have to jump like sideways.
Okay.
And hope that I get it. But yeah, I think.
What's happening with the mouse?
I don't know. Spot.
The mouse doesn't work.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna die.
No. Just need to get my proper.
Okay.
You think I can reach that platform, or should probably?
Oh, up. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think. Nope.
Oh, let me use a parachute.
You're still gonna die there.
No.
I know you removed it.
Yeah, but I'm also in explore mode, and but yeah.
And I remember. Oh yeah. From Vas Montenegro. On YouTube, will you add the machete takedowns to the editor? Well, that's something that is linked back to the main game. On the main campaign, there is no machete takedowns, as far as I know.
Nope.
So we don't have these archetype assets to bring back to the editor. So I think the answer is no.
Exactly. Sorry.
And maybe one last question regarding the kill zones. Yeah, we're watching that way because the screen where we have the question is there. So it's not just for thinking in the empty. From Lost Chan Zoe, if there will be hard kill volumes in the editor. The first one.
Sorry. Actually, if you would like to have a warning to your player before receiving any message, you can play around with the map limits. Map limits it might be tricky if you want to do like specific setups in your map, but usually the map limits that can be found here are the limits within your map that you can add as many points as you want to them and play around with the terrain, or you're actually the tool itself to give a warning. It's kind of hack that you will use the map limits just to get the editor message or the warning message, hey, you're going out of bounds, be careful. But that could be used for this kind of setups in some kind of maps. I see that we have the Steve that asked if we can add one of those particles in the map to show. I guess that was those ones, Steve?
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, maybe you can just walk around to see.
Oh, dust. Okay,
like.
no, he named the some of the ones.
Okay.
So dust far away, then we can probably far away. So these particles, we added them because we felt.
Is our command.
I will just reduce a little bit of the fog so I can.
Oh, yeah, because I don't see anything.
Yeah, we can, but it's very subtle. There we go. So some of the particles, they're not meant to be used from up close. There's a lot of them that are more for the decor to give the ambience. And this one, thank you, Steve, is a really great example because you can use it like far away and it will give a realistic detail.
As if there was like a sandstorm or something going on far away. So it's really more, I guess, to give to add an ambience to your map, to really give a full experience.
So if we jump that right into here, you can see
Yeah.
I can't move, but these particles can be used in the background, like behind the structures behind dust, not dust, behind rocks, to like give a little nice touch of detail more. Again, like detail is how you bring your map to life. I've seen a lot of maps already made from the Mars DLC that are live. Keep it up. They're really good. They're really fun. It's really great about this package is all the assets are modular. So there you have a lot of the structures, all the platforms. You want to do a parkour map, go crazy. There's a lot of assets that will allow you to. If you want to build your own space lab with all the shapes and structure pieces that we have, go ahead. There's a lot of them, and all with the particles. I can't wait to see all these labs and hologramming.
Because they do check your maps for you to know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very fun. I like them.
Maybe to finish the stream, we'll start the raffle. Are we ready, moderation team? Kind of? Are they? Well, in the meanwhile, I will show what... Oh no, that's not that. Yeah, here it is. What you can win. Oh god, that's not the right. So you have like this Hope County Far Cry t-shirt. We actually have this time some Far Cry Arcade t-shirts that were made for the arcade team, but we have some left. So because it was a nice close-up. We don't have all the sizes left, but we will be happy to send the winners of this raffle some one of these Far Cry Arcade t-shirt. If it's too big, it makes very pretty pajamas. So here you go.
I use it to work. No, I'm
well, yes.
I'm kidding.
Gabe is laughing so bad right now and making fun of me. This is very disturbing. Well, you can use it to work, but I use it as a pajamas.
It's okay.
It's okay. And finally, our very glorious pins. But they're always the same. I don't know if you can do a close-up. You need to... what camera? Yeah, this camera. Wow, a beautiful maze. It's amazing. Ding, ding. Oh, yeah. Okay, good. Are we ready to start? Yeah, we're ready to start. So please hit the chat with exclamation mark raffle.
Raffle.
Do it once. No need to spam the chat. Won't give you more chances. And on that note, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
For explaining to us the in-depth of the map editor. And like every week, we will be featuring new maps on the Far Cry Arcade. So feel free to publish your maps. We will have a look at them. The arcade team is always helping us to choose the maps that we feature. And our amazing community team is also playing some of your community maps during weekly Friday Arcades live streams every Friday. So thank you very much, and see you to the next DLC.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.